Hello, welcome to Effective Logo Design Part 3. This is the third part of the series on what makes an effective logo design, and today we will talk about creating concept, where magic happens. There is a multicultural appreciation in our contemporary society, where researching and understanding the audience became a major concern for the designer. In this era of globalization, individual choices are mostly influenced by cultural preference instead of assimilation. Although graphic designers have expertise in visual matters, that is not enough. The true magic happens when we engage a human-centered approach. As a professional designer, you must work with a research-oriented mind. The key areas that separate professional designers from amateurs is the ability to explain how visual communication works, how it can be manipulated to the benefit of the message, and how professional designers add value to a product. The work of a professional designer is to consider the audience and include them in the design process. By adopting research methods, designers are able to explain their choices to a client instead of relying solely on intuition. Any study in the area of visual communication touches on perception issues, the environment, and culture diversity. This lesson will address the foundation of communication, the sign. Language is important in our culture. You have been dealing with linguistics since birth. Your parents taught you to read. You have studied words for as long as you can remember. That is linguistics. When creating logos, we work with an important field called semiotics, the use of imagery. Signs in semiotics can be a general term for image. The word sign has wide terminology. It doesn't simply mean sign. It can stand for photograph, drawing, etc. Animate and inanimate objects may serve as signs as well, and for any sign, there may be several interpretations. In the simplest sense, sign is something that substitutes or represents something else. For example, in the context of driving a car, a green light signifies go. So, every sign is semiotic, meaning a system involving both sender and receiver. The green light is the sender, the driver is the receiver. Without linguistics and semiotics, we would not be able to communicate. Our brain perceives certain patterns in its environment. Every time they appear together, the brain connects these two mental representations, becoming virtually one. The sign is invisible because we are used to it. We are not aware that we actually live with representations that are signs. Only a small part of the outside world is perceived by our brains, and it is safe to say that we actually live inside our brains. At an early age, we have created a copy of the outside world in our brain, including language, culture, and worldview. That shows the importance of understanding semiotics and its influence on logo design. The studies of philosopher Charles Sanders Peirce and linguist Ferdinand de Saussure, co-founders of semiotics, formed the two main schools of thought on the study of signs and communication. According to Charles Sanders Peirce, there are three types of signs: icon, index, and symbol, to which Argentine linguist and semiotician Luis Prieto added a fourth one, the signal. Let's break it down to the most basic points. Peirce's vision of a sign is very broad and reflected in the notion that a sign is anything causing someone to think, of something else. By this description, words and objects are possible signs as well as thoughts themselves. Because of this definition, Peirce's sign requires three parts: representamen, or the sign, the object, or the signified, and the interpretant, the effect. The first part of the sign system is what Peirce calls the representamen. The representamen acts as the initiator of the signification process and is the image that refers to something else. It is the object that is being viewed. It can be a piece of media, a photograph, a sign such as a street sign, a drawing, an image on television, or even one on the web. What the representamen refers to, Peirce calls the object. The object is what is represented. For instance, in this scene, the dog is the object. The girl on the right is focused on drawing a picture of the dog. She is creating a representamen. The final part of Peirce's sign is the interpretant. Here is the object, the dog, and the representamen, which is the picture of the dog. Her mom is looking at the drawing and thinking, "I should wash the dog today." The interpretant is what the person thinks when they see the representamen. Interpretant is the amalgamation of the other two parts that form the individual's thoughts. It is a merging of the representamen and the object and what it stands for. As a result of this structure, it is possible to see how representamen can have the same object, such as the word point, but forming different interpretants in the mind. The word point is the object to which the sign refers. Representamen is the form which the sign takes, the pencil or the finger. Interpretant is not an interpreter, but rather the sense made of the sign. The pencil is sharp or the girl being impolite. Why is this important? If you want to be persuasive and inform with images, understanding semiotics can help you. In this example, to advertise Amtrak Connect, the new Wi-Fi availability in the Amtrak system, individual ads were created selecting iconic symbols for each line, such as a lobster for the Downeaster line. Then, they integrated the universal Wi-Fi symbol with each respective icon. This was a simple way to send a personal message, creating brand recognition and empathy. The types of signs are icons, indexical signs, and symbols. Let's take a look at their characteristics, relevance, and where to use them. The term icon comes from the Greek word eikona, which simply means image. Here it describes a religious picture, often done on wooden panels. The Byzantine iconography is the oldest and only Christian art form survived unchanged for the past 2,000 years. Russian, Greek, and Serbian icons are filled with symbolism. They were designed to convey information about the person or event depicted. For this reason, icons tend to be formulaic, following a prescribed methodology for how a particular person should be shown, including hairstyle, body position, clothing, and background details. Today, icons are strongly associated with a defined concept, such as an icon on a computer screen, which, when clicked, performs some function. These are also literal images and instantly recognizable, so even someone not familiar with them can deduce a general meaning. They look like what they mean. One thing to keep in mind: don't confuse an icon with an iconic status. For instance, there are many bands, but few have reached icon status, such as the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Examples of iconic figures are a person or thing that is the best example of a certain profession or some doing. For instance, Robert Redford is an icon in the movie business. He is charismatic and personifies generosity. He has touched the lives of countless people through his contributions to charitable works as well as his countless unforgettable films. Also, not all logos are iconic. A logo must have a certain level of recognition to be considered iconic, and it is rarely about the logo design alone. An iconic brand delivers on multiple levels. It requires a deep knowledge of customers and how they experience the company or product, the environment, its tone of voice, and more. Goodyear's logo can be described as iconic. In 1900, the winged foot symbol for the Goodyear Company was chosen after the founder Frank Seiberling. It was inspired by a statue of the Greek god Hermes. The idea of speed had a lot to do with Goodyear's selection of the symbol, as well as the embodiment of the characteristics that Goodyear would be known for. The logo remained the same throughout the years, with the occasional color or font change. In linguistics, an icon is a type of noun whereby the form reflects and is determined by the referent. For example, onomatopoeic words are necessarily all icons. The logo for Volkswagen was the result of a Porsche office competition to see who could come up with a good one, and the winner and designer was Franz Reinpis, who perfected the engine for the Beetle in the 1930s. The initial black and white logo strategically contained the VW for Volkswagen as well as the swastika, in accordance with Hitler's regime. The second logo was also black and white, yet didn't contain the swastika and looked more like a wheel than a fan or radar. Post WW2, the British took over the car company and renamed it the Beetle. The logo then changed as well. The VW was kept, but the design of the circle, which was inspired by the Nazi flag, was gone. The most recent logo is embossed in blue and gray, contrasting the black and white logos of the company's past. Indexical signs are some of the most commonly found images in advertising and design. Indexical signs have a common sense relationship to what they represent. It doesn't have to resemble the object or idea. It evokes emotion rather than presenting literal information. For example, this public awareness ad by Ogilvy shows the urgency to preserve the bluefin tuna from extinction by using an indexical message. It makes the reader feel sadness instead of thinking the word sad. The same effect can be achieved using visual elements such as colors, fonts, and shapes. An indexical sign is when you show something associated with the object that you intend. For instance, the image of smoke stands for fire. Other examples are a thermometer showing it's below zero indicates cold, a beep from your oven signals the cookies are ready to be removed, a red stoplight is a sign that alerts you to stop, or waving your hand as a sign of recognition and greeting. Indexical signs link meanings between the image's appearance and its representation. Symbols have the ability to reveal myriad levels of reality as a means of stimulating the human mind to wider awareness. Symbols also raise a strong sense of belonging, which induces greater recall and memory. Symbolic images are more abstract than iconic images and often do more to convey a feeling or general idea than a specific concrete object. Symbolic images are very often seen in logos as they reinforce the feelings conveyed by a brand. For example, the logo for tortilla chips and dips manufacturer Tostitos, owned by PepsiCo, is an interpretation of people dipping a tortilla chip into the bowl of salsa on top of the letter I. This is not a direct representation. Symbolic images generally need to have their meanings taught. They are not instantly recognizable because they are not literal. Cisco is well known for designing, manufacturing, and selling networking equipment. It is not surprising that they decide to incorporate an illustrated digital signal to their logo. But there is another meaning to that digital signal. In fact, it looks like an abstract of the famous Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. By choosing this design, Cisco managed to both convey what they do and where they are located. Until the meaning is learned, symbols can be widely open to interpretation. Someone could think it represents something else, particularly if they come from a different culture. To apply the sign-referent relationship proposed by Ferdinand de Saussure, a symbol is fundamentally composed of the signifier, the form the sign takes, and the signified, the business concept the sign represents. The logo results from the association of the signifier, the people behind the running of the business, and the signified, the related tangible value created by the company. However, to understand the concept of a symbolic process and how they are created in the mind, we have to refer to Charles Peirce's triadic system. Peirce's three-part framework of signification viewed semiosis as an active influence on human cognition. 1. The representamen, the company's brand name, what the brand stands for. Number 2. The object, the finance services that the sign refers. Number 3. The interpretant, the consumer's interpretation of trust or the sense effect on the consumer. The distinctive power of symbols lie in their ability to divulge myriad levels of reality as a means of stimulating the human mind to wider awareness, heightening a strong sense of belonging in order to induce greater recall and memory. The most common use of the term symbol is for signs that are not words. Bald eagle for USA, bear for Russia, cross for Christianity, Star of David for Judaism, swastika for Nazism, or a font for a specific product, for example Coca-Cola and Rolling Stones magazine. Knowing semiotics can help you craft a variety of messages for different audiences. A more in-depth look at Peirce's classifications and theories will provide many more possibilities for their use, but being able to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a message being iconic, indexical, or symbolic has a strength of its own. The whole of theory in design is an increasingly significant one, as our tools and softwares become more available to the public. Few clients will discuss the ideas of Peirce's representamen and interpretants. Still, you are expected to have the rhetorical tools needed to analyze and communicate their function as signs, regardless of the terms used. Being able to explain concepts and the design process will be a huge factor in differentiation between professionals and amateurs.